we are going over insects, so entomology today. And I'm not gonna lie, I have learned a lot about many different things in this, and developed a fear over a few of them. Unbelievably good weekend, nice! No, that's great, I'm glad to hear that, good for you! But yeah, I'll talk a little bit about, like, all the things I found out in this, and then, it's also the first crew-supported GC. So I should probably wait for Almighty to get back, because Almighty was the one that actually answered so many of my questions. I, like, had a ton, and I sent them, like, a book about questions. But they were absolutely amazing with helping me answer all the questions that I had. And definitely was a big contributor to this presentation. So definitely thank you, Almighty. And I will have a special side for you later. So hopefully you hear that whenever you come back. If not, you'll see it later. So let's go ahead and jump right into this as soon as I can click it. So what I want to kind of begin with was a lot of this is going to kind of talk about sociality. So there are a couple different classes. I don't know how you want to say it. There's a couple different like types of bugs that do this, but it's really interesting because it's kind of like what we have, as people have. And so to like kind of describe what it is, so it's only found in a couple of different species. So it's found in ants, bees, termites, and some wasps. And oddly enough, naked mole rats, like they all kind of follow the same structure. And what it is that it's like a cooperative like effort to make sure that the entire hive or the entire like society is taken care of. So and what I mean by that is that if, for example, that there was a larva, there was a child, or you know, like a young being that needed support that may not necessarily have its support, the society as a whole will help take care of it and raise it. And that was pretty interesting. And also, this society typically has a sort of matriarch or some sort of overall, like, I don't know if I want to say leadership is the right word, but there is like a one source that the hive depends on, and that's pretty consistent through all these. It's also interesting because what the hive could do, and I'm just going to use bees for my example because I love bees. I think they're so cute. But what bees can do is they actually will have like designated roles for each of the different bees. And so like one could be a worker, you know, making honey, and one could be something going out and like getting pollen. And like they all have their little tasks. And we'll kind of get into this later, but that's also like it's a good thing. Like as a unit, like as a whole unit, it's a really good thing. It's really powerful because now you have all these different like organisms, these beings go out and like doing these tasks that you need done, which is fantastic. But it also has some problems, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But where this kind of came from is it's like group survival, right? So there's safety in numbers, and if you can have designated people do designated things, then it's like you kind of like break down everyone's tasks so that way everyone's not fighting to like for the same resources. They're not fighting for like the same home area or like the same territory. They're all working together to build out a home area, to build out like a home base that they can defend, they can have resources for, and everything. So that's kind of where this evolved from. So, like I was saying, this does kind of come with a like, sort of matriarch, so the royal arrangement. I'm going to definitely butcher this word, so everyone stay with me. But it is haplodiploidy. I definitely thought not say that correctly. But it's whereas the queens and the workers share 75% of their genes. So this was kind of like one of those things I thought was kind of disturbing, to be honest with you. But as we all know, there's a queen bee, right? There's like, continue with the bee example. There's a queen bee that does the reproduction for the hive. And what is said with like 75% of the genes is that whenever, like any bee you've ever seen, I don't like to have clothes. No, they're creepy. I'm sorry. Like, it freaks me out. But, honestly, like, it's not even like so much that they're creepy. It's just I feel so bad for them. Like, I genuinely feel so bad. But what we're talking about is that whenever the queen lays eggs, so the queen will always lay eggs, and only some of them will get fertilized. Any bee that you've ever seen, for the most part, has been a female bee, which is like, those are the eggs that got fertilized, those are the eggs that turn into the worker bees. Some of them do not get fertilized, and those eggs turn into what are called drones. And the drones are literally made for one thing only, and it is to mate with the queen, to, you know, continue this cycle. And the reason I feel bad for them is because if, like, once that task is complete, once they have done their mating, they die. Like, they will either die in one of two ways. The first way is they die after mating, period. The second way that they die is if they do not mate with a queen. It doesn't necessarily have to be the queen of the hive. If they don't mate with a queen, then they get straight up executed. Like, whenever the reason for it is that drones still consume food, still consume like resources that the hive would otherwise use. Actually, sort of reshow for use when workers are needed and can lay nonifies. Yeah, like, that's insane. But once the drones have completed their tasks, and now they're just consuming resources for like basically no reason, and so they're like, "All right, buddy, sorry about this, but you're done." And yeah, they get kicked out of the hive, and they don't make it. It's really sad, but it's like, if you're looking at it in terms of efficiency, I guess it makes sense. But yeah. But like, how does a queen bee, or how does a matriarch come around? So from what I saw, there's a couple different ways, but kind of like continue with the bee thing, is that this a royal jelly. So they make some sort of material. I should have looked at this. Maybe Almighty, you can help me out here with like what that's actually made out of. But basically, they give them a special soup, and then the larvae like are in that soup, and they eat that soup. And because it's like a special soup, it makes them like stronger and bigger, and that generates your queen bee. And then I think it was also the case of like, whenever a queen bee is made, like, and they come out of like the larval stage, they will actually systematically kill each of the other potential queen bees, because they don't like just make one. They make like several. Like, I was looking at some images online, and there was like at least like 6 or 7 like queen air quotes queen bee like candidates beside each other. And the other thing is, you don't want to have just one, right? Because if you have just one, and it's like, what if that one doesn't make it? What if that one, like, something happens, it just doesn't make it? There's like a disease or something. So you have to have multiple, but there can only be one queen bee at the end. So it literally has to like get rid of the others, and that's spicy. That's spicy. It's a higher protein variant of honey. Yes, that's what it was. Honey is produced by bees, bombing and chose mouse, which is very cute. Royal jelly is produced through extra processing of this honey. So there you go. So yeah, they put the larva in that, and then it eats it and becomes a super big, powerful bee. One of the things I did think was interesting, that I did kind of step away from the ant and bee, like, kind of look at, is termites actually have like several different like monarchs. But if a monarch were to die, like they have, if a monarch were to die, a worker termite could actually fill the role of a monarch. Like, it would literally be like picked and selected for the new monarch role. And also, another interesting thing is that while I believe it's ants and bees are matriarchs, the termites can also have like kings. So kings and queens. So a little bit different. Pretty interesting. But what I thought was absolutely crazy is that ants can farm? Like they can farm. Like, is that weird to anybody else? Like, I have never, ever... it's because from it's actually in a roach order. Oh! Oh man, not the roaches. But, for this at least, ants can actually, like, farm aphids. So, there are a couple of different ants that do, like, a couple of different, like, farming methods. But the one I thought was the most interesting was the ones with where they farm aphids. So aphids will produce something called honeydew, which ants really like. And so they will actually basically treat aphids like cows almost. So they will protect them from different predators. They will like bring them resources like food and everything to like allow them to grow. They'll also like do certain things like for example, aphids typically have wings. They will get rid of the wings just so that aphids can't fly away, which is obviously very unfortunate. But otherwise, they raise them kind of like livestock. And this blew my mind because it's one of those things of just I don't know, like I didn't expect that from like ants or something. Like I didn't expect that to be a thing. Like it's one of those things that now that I know that this is a real thing, then I have so much more respect for ants because that's wild to me. It is genuinely wild to me. Not that I didn't before. Like I always try to avoid them whenever I'm walking, but like it's just that's wild. Literally, they are tiny civilizations. Like that's what's crazy. Is this like, I mean, if you go like with the farming thing and you go with like the warfare we'll talk about in a little bit, and then you go with like the matriarchs, it's literally like a medieval society is what it strikes me as. And that's what's nuts. But I did see a couple of other examples, so, and not just like with not all ants, but like using leafcutter ants as an example, they do grow fungus on leaves, and they'll actually like chop down different pieces of leaves to help support the fungal growth, which I thought was really interesting because actually they eat the fungus then that are like the mushrooms on trees. And they kind of the same thing with the ambrosia beetles, is they do a similar idea where they will actually like farm fungi in their tunnels as well. But it's just like to understand that like insects out here are literally practicing agriculture, and it's just that's wild. That's crazy. That's crazy. So one of the things I did kind of want to talk about is like the risks and the resilience of like the eusocial like architecture of where what's good and what's bad about it. And I just kind of wanted to like highlight a few things with it. So starting on the risk side is that because the entire colony is based on the queen, if the queen dies, it's bad. Like bad. It means it could literally just mean the collapse of the entire colony. In some cases, depending on like the time of the year is the most critical part of it, right? Because depending on the time of year, if it's like approaching winter and you're like trying to get ready for winter and then the queen dies, you don't have those pheromones that you can go off of, you're cooked. You're straight up cooked. And then the other thing is that because most like 75% of that genetic material is passed along from the queen to the workers, that means that there's less disease resistance and kind of like a low adaptability, such that if a disease were to come into the you literally like, isn't that nuts? Because it's so critical. Like the what Almighty says, because if there's a sick ant, it will literally leave and just off itself. Because if that sickness spreads throughout the colony or the hive or whatever, that could literally lead to the destruction of that hive or whatever it is. And kind of the same thing is like with low adaptability is like if there is a parasite or if there's some sort of like intruder that comes in that can match the pheromone scent or like the pheromones of the queen, it can literally fly under the radar just because they can't detect it. They have no idea. And then I know, Almighty, one of the questions I asked was like how an individual can't survive alone. And it's because literally, well, one of the things is those pheromones, like they use pheromones to do a lot of their like tracking the world. But another is because of the specialized tasks. So with each like worker having like a specialized, I'm a guard, I'm a collector of pollen, I'm whatever I am. Because I'm that means I can't handle all the tasks that would keep me alive by myself. And because I can't do that, if you're separated, you're done. You're just straight up done. And like that's tough. That's like really hard. But on kind of like the flip side of things, there is a lot of good things about it too. Like you could go on with both sides of these. Like what are more risks that there is, one more resilience that they have. It's just so crazy. But one of the best part is like colony stability. So this is kind of what I was talking about with like whenever you have a lot of people that could be fighting for the same territory for the same resources, you don't have that now, right? You have everyone working together for one common purpose, and that's the goal. Like there's not going to be you're fighting to get some food that like I don't know HK has or YD has, it's like we aren't fighting now. We're all part of the same crew, and we're all trying to work together to complete our mission. And with those specialized tasks that if everyone is doing their task, then now we have a system that is extremely efficient. I don't have to go out and farm for honeydew whenever I know that someone else will be bringing it to me and then I can process it, you know? It's like everyone, it just makes, it's like a system, like a factory almost. It just constantly is keeping moving, so it's really good for that. Kind of same thing, strong coordination. You know, like everyone knows their job. Everyone has the pheromones that they can follow. It's like, you know, there's a strong system in place. And then now everyone's working together. We have our resources. We can lock down territories so that if there's an invader, we can all work together to defend ourselves. So, I mean, it's really interesting. I'm not gonna lie. It's really interesting, like, to look at this. Oh, Ferocian in chat. And kind of what this is based on, like, the above, is a lot of this comes from this. So, the pheromone networks. So, I thought this image on the right was really, really interesting because it just kind of has a huge list of what all the kind of inputs are for, like, the sensing the pheromones. And then based on those inputs, as well as, like, the matrix over here on the right, is how you find out where you're supposed to go, where you're supposed to deposit your pheromones, what you're supposed to do. And this is just, like, a general, like, movement-based pheromone, like, chart. This doesn't include anything like, follow me, attack here, food here. There are a lot of different, ways that you can use pheromones for different things. Because I know one of the things I saw was, like, imagine that there's a path in the woods, right? It splits left and right. And then what you can do with pheromones is like a scout will be sent out. The scout will go into the woods. They have a way home because they can sense the pheromones of, like, their home colony, the queen, whatever. But they don't really know what's out there, so they can't travel too far. They'd be kind of careful. But what they'll do is they'll go out and they'll say, oh man, if I go left, I find food. That's great. That's awesome. So they will lay down a pheromone tracker such that other ants can follow it and come back and be like, okay, this way I know if I go left, there's food. Let's say that scout goes right. The scout goes right and they find another ant colony, separate ant colony away from this one, so it's an enemy potentially, right? They can also have tracks down there that go, hey, this is going to be bad if we go this way. Don't go this way. And so that's, like, kind of how the ants move about and how they find different paths, like which way to go down, is they look for these pheromones and follow these pheromones, and that tells them basically how to operate, like what they're supposed to do. But you can also do other things, like if someone's invading your nest, you can send out a pheromone like, hey, there's somebody here that shouldn't be here. We gotta get to work and we gotta defend our home. And, like, it's such a, like, the way I understand it is such a quick response time that everyone's like, all right, we got our task, we know who needs to do what, we got the signal to go. It's like, it's go time, like, immediately. There's no real loss of communication in that, just because, I don't know, it's crazy. This is why you can desperate an ant by drawing a circle around her with a Sharpie. Yeah, it's this stuff that, like, because of how these things on the left work, and then try to do, like, the Sharpie thing around it, it's just they get lost, they don't know where to go. It's like, wait a minute, I came from this way, but, like, also, this way's now blocked off. So it's like they don't know which way to go now, and they try to find the way back, but then they can't find the way back because everything looks blocked off. So, yeah, that's absolutely crazy. It isn't, like, a thing also that, like, if, and I don't know if it's just, I don't remember which bug this was, but I believe it might have been that, is they did the Sharpie and then it looked like an invisible barrier, but then they moved the bug across that Sharpie line, and then the bug knew not to, it was never going to be a wall again, like once I got across the Sharpie line. I don't know if that was an ant, but I have definitely seen that done. So yeah, ants lay scent trails, bees release alarm pheromones, and termites use it to organize workers as well. But there's other ways to communicate, right? And I had to include the bee waggle. It is so cute. I love it so much. It's absolutely shaking it. But there's there's a couple different ways that bugs can communicate. One of the things is, like, bees can, like, do their little dance, and then they can also it can also do something else. And I can't remember what it is. I don't know if it's like he, like, sense each other. There was something they can do, like, 3 forms of, like, communication. No, one was pheromones, one was dancing. There was a third one. I had to look to see what it was. But yeah, they can literally, like, waggle. It's like how long they waggle, what direction they waggle. It's like based on the sun. So like they'll have a sun and they'll like aim a direction, waggle, and like how long they waggle for is like the quality of whatever's out there is based on like the time. And there was also one more thing, but yeah, I just thought it was so cute. I love it. The other one that I thought was kind of cool was these tree hopper bugs. So they can actually vibrate like the plant stems, and only other tree hoppers can sense the same vibrations. And it was like a secret code that they could send out. I thought that was really interesting. And also, speaking of tree hoppers, while I'm on it, if you want to see the most like varied, maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was the vibrate the honeycomb. I think that's what it was. That sounds right. But if you want to see the most varied like bug I've ever seen that comes in so many different shades, colors, sizes, what have you, look up tree hoppers. On a side note, I am scared of some forms of tree hoppers. like like this one right here, I think is very cute. I won't lie. But then there was some that were kind of scary. And then of course the fireflies. So I love fireflies, seeing them fly out at night and just like light up the sky and everything. So they do have a unique blink pattern per species. And sometimes they synchronize flashes just like their communication. And one of the things I would say is, obviously I didn't know what they were saying or doing at the time. But I remember being outside one night and just, there's kind of like a forest near where the ship is crashed. And just on the edge of the forest, I saw all these different fireflies lighting up the night. It was just absolutely beautiful. It was like 1,000 little lanterns just in the bushes. It was so cool. I love it so much. But I also had some other ones on here, like just some other interesting bug facts. So we can have dung beetles. I actually did not know this, that dung beetles use the Milky Way to actually like guide their movements at night. And so I was like kind of thinking, well, I know on Earth, like a lot of places have light pollution. Like how do they use Milky Way to guide night when you can't necessarily see the Milky Way? And what it is they will actually be able to adapt. And they will use lights and the moon to actually guide their way. Firefly populations are coming back. They hit a major low in 2017, but conservation, nice. I'm glad to hear it. I love fireflies. Why did they hit a low? Like, was there a significant event that caused them to just reduce the population, or like, or what's going on with that? But they use the moon and stars to guide themselves at night now, if they're in like a low light population area. Hello, why are we talking about bugs? Yes, so, hello Jace, by the way, happy Sunday. So every Thursday, we have what's called a Galactic Curiosity. And a Galactic Curiosity is just a general thing that we're interested in talking about for like the week. We've had talks about like pulsars, we've had talks about black holes. Hey, yes, welcome. And then now we're having talks about bugs. And so typically this would take place on Thursday, like I said, but just because there was some IRL stuff that I have going on that I had to worry about, I wasn't able to get to it this past Thursday. So we're having a bonus stream about it on Sunday. But yes, these are every Thursday that these go on. And usually I announce the topic like either the Wednesday before or the Thursday of. But Sarah, if you go on my X, by the way, I actually do have my schedule posted of kind of like what I'm looking to do for each like day. So Tuesdays are normal like game streams, so it's going to be our Sonic Hero streams. And Wednesday, I'm looking to do some community stuff coming up. So anyone that's interested in that will definitely have to look to there. And then Thursday, yep, Galactic Curiosity. But pass up. One of the things that I know we kind of mentioned like termites a little bit ago is that termite mounds are like their own little city. And it's absolutely crazy because like they have ventilation, like they can literally control how hot it gets in there. Also, these things are huge. Like, nobody told me that these things have like spires coming out of the earth, and they're just literal giant like cities basically. I don't know like a good another word for it. Is they're just like giant cities just coming in the middle of the earth, and they have like all these they have like nurseries for like their larvae. They have freaking like farms inside them. They have like the where the matriarch is, like this chamber. And then like the guards are posted outside the entrances and everything. And oh, it was a pesticide. Okay. Oh, that's so sad. We need firefly conservation areas. I love fireflies. Literally, I saw an elephant sit on one and it didn't even collapse. I was like, yo, those things are crazy. Like, I had no idea. I had no idea that they lived on like these giant spires. Because whenever I was like reading about it, it was like, oh, they live underground, and you know, it's like they're in cities. I was like, oh, okay, rad, sure. That's awesome. And then I like looked up some images for this. And I was like, that's not underground, Chief. Venom's coming out into like the open air. So I'm sure there's some that still extends like underground. But yeah, no, that's wild to me. Another thing that's wild, and this is something I actually know from Grounded, is the Bombardier beetle. So I'm not gonna lie, whenever I was playing Grounded, I thought this was kind of like a flavor thing that they could like shoot out like little bombs at you, you know? Apparently not. Apparently it's real. So they actually have like two separate, I want to say tanks, air quotes, in their bodies that holds these two like chemicals. And whenever they're threatened, they can actually mix those and like shoot them out. And it actually is like a chemical reaction that causes like a near boiling spray. And what's even more interesting about this is that they actually have like really high precision with this, I guess. So they can shoot out in like multiple directions and still hit their target. Oh, Jace, literally, it's insane. Like the more... I'll go back to this. I don't know what all you've seen with this, but like ants can farm. That was news to me. Nobody told me that ants can farm. So that was interesting. And then we got like bees can do coordinated attacks. They can vibrate. I didn't talk about that. Okay. So Almighty showed me this, and I don't have the gift for it because it's terrifying. But basically, you did. You absolutely did. But like one of the things that Almighty showed me is that if there's like a... how do I describe this? So if you have bees, right? And a hornet comes down and it wants to eat those bees. It's like, oh, that's, you know, you're looking like a snack. I'm feeling hungry. I want to eat you. So it'll come down and eat it. But then the bees are like, we take offense to that. Like, we are not here for you to come down and eat us, right? So what they can do is what's called a bee ball, right? And what it does is it's a whole bunch of bees gather on this hornet and they just start shaking it around. They are absolutely shaking it on the dance floor because what they're doing is they are vibrating so much that the internal temperature of the hornet actually reaches a point that it boils and it will kill the hornet. And you may be asking, well, why doesn't it do that to the bees? Why do the bees not get boiled? Well, it's because their internal temperature, they have what is it? It's like a higher range of resistance to like that friction heat, such that they literally will like shake it to the point that they're about to boil themselves. Like it's like 3 or so degrees below where they're about to boil. And then they're just like, all right, we won't go any higher. we won't burn up the dance floor anymore. But it literally kills the bees. It's crazy. There are so many... I don't even know how to describe it. There are so many different things on this planet, like on planet Earth. Like that is so unique. How everything grew and it developed in its own way. That like reading about like all the different bugs in entomology was crazy to me. Because it's one of those things like you read about it and you discover you have like such a higher respect for like bugs than I did before. Like I still like I don't want to say that because it makes me feel like I don't respect bugs at all, which I do. But it's like to understand what they're capable of is like, wow. Like that's not just an ant on the sidewalk. That is literally like a specialized task force member that is like, you know, bringing home stuff for his colonies. Yeah, so nuts. But Japanese honeybees more frequently against invaders. Yeah, that was crazy. That is crazy. And then, like, talking about, like, matricide, that is another thing that they got into, whereas, like, there can be, like, usurpations, there can be, like, freaking, like, ants can go into other colonies and raid them for their resources and take it back. It is literally, the best way to describe it is like a medieval society. It is 100% a medieval society. If you think of anything that could happen in medieval times, it is basically the same thing. They do. They do. I was trying to avoid saying that, but you know what? You typed it, so they do. In fact, that does happen. It happens in a couple different ways. Like one of the things I saw is that they can like go into other ant colonies and actually take like the larva. And what they'll do is they'll raise the larva for themselves, so it wouldn't be the same ants, but it would be the like, you know, they would still raise it and it would be, yeah, it's essentially another worker. So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. On 4 page tough. If you follow, hey, thank you, Fever. Welcome to the Galactic Curiosity bonus stream, and I appreciate it. I hope you like the TikToks. they come from actually here. So anything that you've seen on there comes from here. And then I also just kind of want to talk about like these guys behind me really quick. So if you can like, can't really move my head or anything to where you can see it. But there's plant hopper nymphs. And what's interesting about these guys is they have literal gears. Doable in the chat, by the way. They have literal gears in their legs. Like, if you think of like a mechanical gear, is very similar. And what this does is whenever they go to jump, that the gears ensure that their legs fire off at the same time. And because the big thing there is, if they didn't, right? They could fire one leg off, and then the other one's a little bit slower. They could fire off in a different direction. They could spin, what have you. Alright, the reason we are looking at bugs today is we have what's called a Galactic Curiosity. So every week, we will look at like a different like topic that we find interesting and just kind of talk about it. So we've talked a little bit about like pulsars, black holes, quantum computing. Almighty, what are some of the other ones we talked about? We talked about quite a few. But just kind of like anything that pops up. Oh, AI. We talked about AI. And then what I'll do is every Thursday, we'll kind of have like a presentation where we talk about it. So you can see, and it's going to pop back through all these really quick. That we have like breakdowns of like different parts of it. That's everything I've been here for. Alrighty. I think that's most everything, I'll be honest. But yeah. So we do that every Thursday. The reason we didn't do it past Thursday is I had some IRL stuff going on that I had to take care of. So we moved it to Sunday. Oh. I also made a box of shame. So the box of shame is things I will not go near. I will not look at. I will not put gifts in here for. If you want to search it up, be my guest. I will not do it because it is horrifying. I looked up some of these and I just, nope. Absolutely nope. Parasitical off? Nope. Botfly? Literally, I put absolutely not here, but like, if I could put it to like absolutely not to like the 10th power, I would. So, imagine that. Horrifying. Don't look it up. I don't recommend it. And then assassin bugs really aren't super bad, honestly. Like, what they do is basically they will get their prey and then they will send out like a little bit of juice, and that juice will dissolve that bug from the inside out, and then they'll eat it. So it's just a way of them eating it, but I just thought it was like absolutely horrifying. But yeah, straight to space jail. Straight to space jail. No questions asked. Because they're gross. Botflies being... Yeah, no, literally, it was... Whenever I was looking things up, I saw this pop up in like one of the first videos, like... I didn't click it, but it was like a YouTube video about this poor lady that had like one of the larvae in her arm. I just... Oh, don't look it up. Don't look it up, please. I beg you not to look it up. But also... I wanted to thank Almighty. So Almighty, I don't know if you were here for the beginning of the stream, but I just want to give a huge shout out to Almighty. They have been helping me like this whole past week with answering questions and then setting different things up. So I really appreciate it. Like, I know I had a lot of questions at some point, so I appreciate you helping me with all of them and answering so in depth too. Like, genuinely, it was very impressive. I also have your slide up too, so I can swept it in a minute. Those assassin bugs, it's just how they eat it. It's just how they eat the their prey. That kind of creeped me out. It's not like really that bad, but it's just creeped me out. And does anyone have any questions?